Hi there, this is a video I've made about the nature on Brownsea Island while staying in the castle. On a family holiday, so it's been a little bit of give and take, but I have been out with my trail cam here and I've got a lot of footage. So what I've done, if you're interested in a longer nature video, try this link, and if you'd like to see an unlisted video about the castle, the ins and outs, try this link, because before all that we have to get here. So one of the advantages of staying on the island is we can go out before the ferries come and once they've gone. So we're just off on one of our several walks before breakfast. Come here often. Rude. There's plenty of gull and tern action from here. The black-headed gull getting begged for food here has just come in. Nice shot of the common terns. I guess these must be nesting. There's another hide a bit further around and we've got a gull guard of honour. This is one of my absolute favourites, this marsh samphire, and you can find it down the runway to one of the hides on the lagoon. It's one of two samphires that I've found on the island. We've also got rock samphire growing in the castle grounds, and I've not seen too much of this around the rest of the island. Sandwich tern here. This is a look back from the pathway to the second hide with the castle as reference. Now we're around at the Wildlife Trust Centre. This feeder, you quite often get red squirrels on it, but we've got grey-lag geese and mallards today. We've managed to see this little cheeky chappie as we've turned for the castle. We're coming back a slightly different way. This is a vast expanse of reeds here, and the trees in here typically are silver birch, willow and alder. Here the freshwater lake from the hide on the reserve. Deer feeding sign here. Big lot of western skunk cabbage here. We get this on the river near us, but it's about a third of the size of this. You get the non-coniferous woodland, and then suddenly, which the red squirrels need through there, you get the coniferous stuff, which is the Scots pine. And we've just reached the rather large lily pond, which we're going to just bypass. Just on the edge of the lily pond there's a mum with a little duckling just stuck under her. Okay, we'll leave you alone now. I stopped for some footage of them, and of course they come running over. Just for the record, these are the peacocks. And look at this, what a chance to encounter. We're now heading towards the Scout Stone, and we're just starting to border on a little bit of heathland here. It's always a nice time to come down in the morning and see the sea before it starts getting chopped up by the activity on it. Because Brownsea is the largest of 8 islands in this area. It's about 1.5 miles long by 3/4 wide. And now we're just on the way back checking what the tide's washed in, you know, seaweeds and shells and bits of crab and whatnot. Along with the peacocks, this is one of the island's noisier inhabitants. This is an oyster catcher. Just chanced upon these holes here. I wonder if it's where the oyster catcher's been looking for something, because the tide has actually only just receded this morning, so they're fresh. There we go, we're on the home straight now. Just a stream of terns going back over the castle to the lagoon with fish. So the island's actually jointly operated by both the National Trust and the Dorset Wildlife Trust as well. The latter is more for the lagoon. And obviously we're here as one of 130,000 visitors that come each year. It's an absolutely brilliant sight to come to, even if it's just for a day. So having been out in the stillness of the morning, we're now at the stage where everyone's made their way to the last of the ferries and the stillness has descended on the island again. You can almost just feel it. So I'm starting to lose the light now. I've got my trail cam out and it'll be out every night. green woodpecker here. And you know what, it wouldn't be a Flora and Fauna video without a shot of some ants. Now there are a lot of bat boxes on the island because there's actually 11 species of bat found here. And blow me, look at this, just inside the gate I found a little, I think it's a pipistrelle bat on the wall. Lovely morning, another walk coming up. And a glorious early morning over the lagoon as well. This is common marsh bedstraw, which is a new one to me. Got an egret looking for its breakfast along the castle shoreline. So now out for a mid-morning walk. This is the western tip of the island. So over there we've just come past the scout camp, and just coming up over here is the Maryland village, or remains of it. So now we're heading parallel to the north side, and it is all really tall bracken and Scots pine, almost exclusively. And not surprisingly, amongst all this Scots pine there's lots of squirrel feeding sign. Poole's actually one of the biggest natural harbours in the world, and you'll see in the next bit of footage just how close big ships can actually come to the island. This one, to be precise. It's so close it almost looks surreally close. This is the viewpoint that you can access quite easily from the National Trust area. Bit of raptor action here. I've got a buzzard out in the late evening as I'm going to go and put the trail cam in. Hear that? Most nights when we're out and about looking for nature after tea in the castle, we hear the actors and actresses over in this setup over here. They're practicing the Shakespearean play, and they're going to be inviting guests onto the island in a week or two's time. It's quite surreal. This is a young wren in the rushes. This is the walk on the hill near the villa, which is going to overlook the lagoon stroke sea. And this is somewhere between north and northeast. And as we start to make the descent down the hill, here's a tiny reminder of the ever constant risk of fire on the island. I'm actually sat on an old World War II gun emplacement within the castle grounds. Just off out to put the trail cam out to try and capture some red squirrel footage. I'm just going to leave you with a little montage from a previous visit where I captured a red squirrel stripping the bark off a sweet chestnut tree. Now, in bushcraft terms, sweet chestnut bark buffs up really nicely to make good tinder for lighting fires. So I assumed it was taking it for a dray. Did it know that it buffs up well, or was it a chance encounter where it saw some loose bark? This is about as close as the sea actually comes in, tide-wise. And this is about as far as the tide usually goes out. The tide's on the turn, so we're just going to take you for a little walk around the beach. In the meantime, I'll put this little montage up of a sika deer from a previous visit that decided to come in for a paddle with us near the castle. Come out from the castle and turn right. This is the castle's beach, and it's mainly sort of gravelly stones and sand. You can see there's not much difference with the longshore drift on the sand levels here, and it shelves out quite a long way. I went out to my neck earlier for a swim and counted 40 paces back to the coast, and the tide is actually going from right to left. And as well as seeing various bits of pottery on the beach about now, you can also see the clay as well. Once we leave the castle's beach, we start to see the sort of quite little cliffs that we've got towards the scout camp entrance. We've now reached the southerly point of the island, and the high cliff-like area has now given way to a lower part. Now at the southwest point, we'll have a little pan round back from where we've come from. Starting to hit proper wet clay now on the beach, and you can tell it is clay because when you run your finger down it leaves a smooth channel with no rips or tears. Coming out with my family here, but they've taken the exit to the scout camp as a place to tap out, and I don't blame them because the beach from sort of here on in isn't the most accommodating if you're wanting to walk on it or sit on it, because it's a lot of bricks and a lot of pottery now. Now, apart from seeing the sika deer and the red squirrels, I was just going to take what Brownsea threw my way nature-wise, because obviously I'm on a family holiday and I can't be too demanding. I did have this plant, however, on my list to see. It's thorn apple. The reason it's on my list of things to see is this is the first place I ever saw it, and it's near the scout camp, which I know is still in the same position because I can see the Union flag over my shoulder. I think the only thing it's useful for is the nice white flowers. I don't think it's got any other use, but I'm glad I've seen it. I'm pretty much at the westerly point, and just for reference, this is Brownsea Island. Now the pottery is really building up because we're not far from the actual jetty that supplied Maryland where it was made. Just shows how much of this produced pottery went to waste. It's actually buried, and you can see where this bank's eroded, where it's all coming out. We're pointing about northwest now, and that's the pottery pier there, long since disused because it's not in very good condition. And now I'm on the home straight. Mercifully the pottery's dropped back down, so the going's a little better. It's not surprising there's so much tree debris on the actual coast when you look how precarious some of their routes are. So my journey's been brought to a premature end because they're doing a lot of work on the island at the moment, so you can see this bit's closed off, but I can't go much further anyway because you've got the lagoon and the nature reserve, so I'm going to jolly well tap out and go back to the castle for a beer. Now, just before I start heading back and to catch a breather, because I've got some big steps to climb here, I want to say a big thank you to the DERC, who are based in Dorset, and they keep a record of all the nature that's been seen on the island. Everything from birds to bivalves and versions thereof. They sent me a list of what they've seen on here, and the current entry list is 5,077 things. It's amazing. I'm back. That beer is calling. Oh yes. While Scots pine is arguably the dominant tree species on the island, there are a lot of other species that you see a lot of, including hazel, spruce, beech, Monterey pine, which has huge cones, silver and the little downy birch, holly, alder, mainly in the wetter areas, sycamore, poplar, various willows, peduncular oak, rowan, hawthorn and sweet chestnut, amongst others. Now this land I'm in at the moment is actually the castle grounds, and there's about 17 acres. There's supposed to be about 60 varieties of tree on the island, of which about 2/3 can be found within the grounds. Okay, and coming up is some of the footage I've got of the sika deer. They come from the Far East, the last part of their Latin name is Nippon, and they can swim, and that's how they got here. This is our first daylight sighting of sika deer, and there's a little young in there as well, which is nice. Oh, a little pronk as well. So let's have a little look at the footage I've got of the red squirrels that are on the island. Obviously one of the jewels in the crown for it. Very active early in the morning, and very active sort of in the cooler evening as well, but apparently they don't like the heat during the day. Good morning, squirrel. As you can hear in the camera, I've got my back to the lagoon at the moment. I'm on the boardwalks. I just spotted this little fella. Caught this one having his tea. There's one of the island's rabbits. Not a lot of dragonflies about, but while this little one's sitting and perching, taking the sun, I'll film him. There's usually a lot of damselflies as well. In terms of butterflies, the most popular one I've seen is the gatekeeper, which we have here. And a 6-spot burnout on the moth front. On the Flora front, you're going to see a whole lot of reeds, blackberry brambles, soft rushes, ragwort. The classic type with ragwort here, you've got cinnabar caterpillars. There's also some ants on there, but there's also some cardinal beetles too. Various thistles, bracken, bird's foot trefoil, fleabane, gorse, heather. I'll have a look over and under the waves and we'll start with this little bad boy. And just to finish off, this is just a small selection of the various shells that I've found on the actual castle beach, and it seems to me to suggest quite a healthy state of the water. Just from the fungus angle on the island, it's not the best weather or season to be trying to find it, but I have found a lot of green elf cup and the following other fungus. The old dependable birch polypore, artist bracket fungus, parasols. One thing Brownsea is famous for in the night time is its nightjars. But because the biting insects are out there on the heathland, we're going to go well prepared. So, having got dressed up to look like a ninja, we are now heading out to the nightjar site. It's over the far side of the island near the scout camp, where all the heath is. We can hear them cheering, but we've just got to wait till they get in the sky. So it's one of those days where it's more churring than flying, but yeah, they're out here in numbers, but so are the mosquitoes, so we're heading back now. On the way back from the nightjars, we thought we'd have a look for the glowworms, which is something I've never seen when I've been here, and it looks like another fruitless visit, but that's nature. So this was the last trail cam of the holiday. We're going back today, which is obviously a bit of a downer. But if you watched this far, thank you very much. I'm going to put some footage from said trail cam on at the end. Enjoy!